ballot styles for you. After that, you move it on to Verity Build. And Build is where you're creating the three things that you need to run an election, which would be the V drives that go into the devices, the two-factor authentication keys are created in that application, and then the paper ballots. That's where you can print them either to a connected printer or to PDF, which is what you'll do, send to your print vendor in order to print the bulk of your print job. And then Count, as the name implies, is tabulation and reporting. It allows you to read the V drives from all the locations, from your high-speed central scanner as well, and then it puts everything into various reports. You can create custom filtered reports, reporting runs, and also do all of your post-election audits because we have a really robust auditing dashboard as well that you can filter down through there. The other three icons, manage, I will show you this real quickly, is just where you are managing the different elections in the system. So this will be full of all your different elections, your primary, general, all that through the years, and will start to fill up as you conduct more elections. This is where you would create new, copy forward, import, restore, and also archive and export your elections. So it's kind of this one-stop area where you're going to do all of the management of the database from creation to archival. And then users and desktop users are where you're adding new users and their permission levels into the system. And then because this is a kiosk system, if you ever needed to change some of the desktop items, like setting the clock, exporting the hash drives, or configuring a new printer, you can do those things. And if there was some sort of, extra special circumstance that you needed to get to the desktop of this computer to do something, we can issue you a one-time, time-limited use code that will let you have access to the operating system. But remember, these are kiosk systems that when you boot into them, they boot directly into the application here. And just a note for anyone who might care about this side of the house, as far as IT infrastructure, everything is set up. There is no licenses or anything like that to manage. Obviously you're not going to worry about getting it into your county network infrastructure, things like that. Our engineering team kind of just calls it the elections toaster. You just plug it in and it works. We manage all those licenses. Any upgrades would come through us. We can either come on site or you can send securely your hard drives to us for updates. So, but you would have a right to every new system release that we do for the lifespan of the Verity system. So Verity data is where we will start. And I've got a very simple election here. Again, I'll reiterate what Lauren said. I used to be a trainer and I train software, so I'll try not to go through and train you on this, but kind of just give you a high level overview so you can get a feel for how we do this. But at a very, again, at a high level, our approach to this software is that it needs to be user-friendly, easy to understand. You will never have to do any sort of what we call programming. We don't ever say you're programming your election or coding your election. You don't need to know any special languages, use any special characters. If you need a line break, you hit enter. If you need to bold something, you bold it. It's all straightforward and simple. So, getting some good laughs. But I will kind of work through this from the standpoint of worst case scenario. Like, let's pretend just for a minute you don't have any import files, you can't bring anything inside. That sets a baseline for how easy the software is to use. But you're going to start off, I've selected the election, I'm now into edit data. Basic info about the election. What's the title, the date, your jurisdiction name, how many languages that you need. The latest release actually supports 11 languages. Voting types, this is where I said you could change these to be by mail, in person, precinct, whatever you wanted to call them, and you can have as many as 5 voting types in here. Parties, pretty self-explanatory. Preferred wording, do you call it precinct to precinct, do you call it write-in to write-in? These are universal wholesale changes for how these terms will appear on the ballot. And then you've got some various rules. Do you need to do straight party voting? And do you do any candidate rotation? Very basic stuff in the election drop down. In jurisdiction, this is saying I need to say it. I'm actually not going to say it right now. But you'll have your precinct list here. Obviously, you'll have many, many, many more precincts. But these can all be exported in. Precincts, and splits. The split needs to be a unique, differentiator from the parent or the main precinct name then. And for example, if I realized I didn't have precinct 103 in here, and I added it, it's at the bottom of the list right now. But if I needed to actually be, I guess it would be number 4. It's a simple type in 4, click away, it reorders mine. It's just a good way to get things in order if you had to add anything. I'm not going to save my changes again. From there, after precincts, districts are just a grouping of precincts. So you expand, jurisdiction-wide or county-wide, or Cuyahoga County District, the things that everyone in the county is going to see. You expand this out, and this is where you're selecting what precincts are included in that district. The precinct to district associations file should have all this set for you, and you would import that in. But you can still come in there. Anytime you import anything into the system, it's still open and available and ready to use. But we do have these nice filters here as well. So let's say you were associating precincts to a district by hand, and you knew that maybe everything in this particular district starts with 4. And so as soon as you type in 4, it will whittle that down. There we go. And it's showing you just.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can you generate reports from this? Like to show which districts are in which?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll point that out
Okay.
when we get to that point.
Thanks.
So anyway, again, high level districts are just the grouping of precincts, and we have ways to make it easy to make those associations. And then polling places are, think of the physical location. We expand these out, and we're assigning which precincts are eligible to vote in there. So again, a polling place could be a specific precinct or precinct split, but a polling place could also be every precinct in the county if you went to a vote center type model, and it's ready for that today. After that, we go into the contests. So here's my contests list. I can expand any contest to see everything about it. So the specific instructions for it, I can put that in. And number of valid choices, that means this is a vote for one. There's one write-in line. I think you're going to be doing normal voting logic right now, but we are set up for cumulative and ranked choice voting with the system currently. Ballot position just means that it's going to fall where it can, or if I want to force it to a new column or a new page, that will move accordingly. And I would also, at this point, be able to associate this contest either directly to a precinct, if it was a precinct level contest, or more than likely, of course, for high level contests like president, you're going to assign it jurisdiction-wide to that county-wide district that you've already made. So it's kind of a one-click association. I'll go down to show you an amendment in here, or a proposition. It's got a few less details because these will always, you're just going to put in the instructions. Proposition text, though, has these basic, if I can click to the right spot, basic formatting built in. So you can bold, italicize, underline, add tables, bullet points, things like that. The other nice thing about this is that it's RTF format, so any source that you're bringing that's RTF, it will retain those attributes. So if you wanted to, if you got proposition text from a jurisdiction that had an image in their proposition text, an image of a graph or something like that, it would appear exactly the way they gave it to you once you import it in that way. Choices from there, again, expand it out, and I'm seeing the candidates. And here in the candidates, I can move them up and down based on ballot order. I can assign a party affiliation in a general election generally. And I do have as many buckets of additional text that I may need to add at any time. So if you've got any special things that you need to assign to the candidates, county of residence or occupation, we see that in different things around the country. You'll be able to add those specific notes there. Very easy to add a choice, delete a choice. And then remind me, do you have to do candidate rotation? So rotation is, say no again, disabled right now. So when I go in here, turn on rotation, I've got precinct split or precinct-based rotation. And the way the system calculates this, oh, sorry. you have to include a contest in rotation for it to appear there. So I'll just turn it on for this one contest to show you. Now I can see all of my precincts and their base rotation index, and then I'm generating on a precinct split basis right now to generate these indices. You can also hand enter these indices, and we do have rotation index calculators as an outside utility. And then ballot data gets us into a lot of the things that are non-votable areas on the ballot, so ballot instructions. This is where I can add that. Again, it's rich text format. I can add an image to this. So we do, I think you saw on the ballot I had today the image of the hand marking the box. So this is where you would load that image in. Again, bold, italicized, all that formatting is built in there for your ballot instructions. Additional text would be items on the ballot that are non-votable areas, like designators of federal, state, and local contests. If you wanted to proactively add something that said continue voting on the backside, you could do all kinds of things like that. And you can add images to all of these as well. And then kind of one of the last things that you'll do is put it all in order. And so in the same way where I reordered the precincts, I can also, if I added a contest late, but I realized that maybe Proposition 1 needed to be the very first thing on the ballot after this federal contest moniker. So again, I can come in here, put 3, click away, it reorders everything, and now Proposition 1 is up there at the top. So we'll use it to kind of move around. And then we've got a header